Thank you for the 500 bits, Tom. Investigate more, cry less. I hope I'll be crying less. Oh, jeez. Alright. An unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. Outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. Oh, good. We're skipping right to evening. Where we're going to get the evidence, we're going to figure everything out, and then we're going to go to court. We've returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain. Thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikotaba and I know. You could say that. We're on the brink of defeat in court earlier. This prosecutor, Asogi, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible. I think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. Well, it started almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. It is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Jigoku? Took him to Scotland Yard. Investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotaba. This must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. Put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Well, you've had a reply already? What's so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Holy crap, she made a whole turkey! Ah, and what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kippers, stew, steak, and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. Well, it could be a very long day, so eat up! In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set without a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley. Not there. I do not. Are we set places this evening? Yes. That place is for Susie's daddy. For me? That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. See, that's terribly kind of you. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. But Susie and I were half-sisters. How much do you know? Iris, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened to the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. What? What? Classic Sholmes falling backwards and flailing his arms wildly. Misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. Actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotaba are Iris' father. What?! Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. Yeah, I don't get it either. Pheasant is by way of apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, that's quite alright. Why don't I get any apologetic, Pheasant? Just who is Iris' father? Well, that's not something we'll be finding out today. So then, let us dine while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. Fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like. There are always seconds. It's gonna be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan. About Kazuma. Can't let this opportunity slip away. Sholmes. Me too! Maybe Iris is a Van Zeeks. Maybe she's an Asogi. Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotaba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I feel the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, can I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn of my deep love for game. Could probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. Yes. Let's talk about the telegram. So, what was in the telegram you received? This? Thank my lucky stars it arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. Ah! It's the same list as on the disc! Finally, we're gonna find out what it was. Are they all part of the Reaper? Simple case of aggravated murder turns out to be a masking monumental intrigue. Plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. Exposing the means by which they're being leaked. We deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. We didn't find the names out until the case was over. Never got to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So why are the names coming up again now? Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Sholmes? I fear the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communications from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Needed by tomorrow. Naruhodo. What? Me? Sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. Hosonaga? You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? And in my name? Wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it's a matter of great urgency, you understand? Anyway, a list of names was found in Seishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean the mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was sent to Judge Jigoku? He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. That doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. Without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious again. Can we ask him about his hypothesis? No, let's talk about Kazuma's death. The tragedy we had to go through on the SS Buria. It's all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We're completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. As remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Isato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. You mean me? The arrangements between our 2 countries was already in place. 1 university student lawyer and 1 judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, you're going to say that it's all in aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England. It was a study tour negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In light of Mr. Asugi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. There's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. Voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourself another suitable lawyer. You manipulated me? I did rise to the challenge, you're right. It's all contrived. I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as a murder. Owen was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. Subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. I remember Mr. Sato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she's certainly not devoid of all guilt. Deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such length, Mr. Sholmes? We're so determined to stop Kazuma from reaching Great Britain. Truth is, 12 months ago. There's already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh? An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago? Is close at hand? What do you know, Sholmes? What do I need to show you? Telegram. Remember for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. Very clear it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched, so... You obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. K. Asugi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. I learned of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now, but because they appeared as part of the top-secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. At the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that. Approximately this time last year, in fact. When you were both still in Japan. Oh? It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for interpreting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. Sholmes! How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Erlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Sholmes! What a fabulous line! Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names is wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, it was partly correct, partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Yeah, this track is... damn, wow. Tell us what you know. Tell us about the 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all connected somehow. The Professor. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names. Because you see, there's someone else on the list, who I believe to be recently deceased. What? Who? A. Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin has a familiar name to me. She's a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. Accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Ah, K. Asugi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. I determined it would be safest if Asogi were to stay away from Britain. Ah, that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So you already knew who Cosimo was, Mr. Sholmes? Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I counted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters. News of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. Not your dad, don't worry. So Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Don't worry. No, he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. Whew. So sorry, Iris. There's significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. Whew. You just told us, Mr. Sholmes. Doesn't completely tie with the facts. It's one very big hole in your hypothesis. Big hole, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. You know about Asa Shin, I presume? Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Jezail Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow. I became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah! Upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Uh-huh. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Shin was a killer. This telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed, and it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Mr. Wilson, visiting student status being merely a front. Ah! Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. The real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asa Shin is because he was the target of an assassination. Armed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts Liz in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There's another among the 4, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean... Kazuma? He did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Asogi accepted the mission a year ago now. What? In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say. Detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How did Kazuma get involved in that? Let's assume we have 2 parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. These 2 parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would be an assassination exchange. We are getting all the info. But how do we link Strongheart to it and get him arrested? The British assassin dispatched as a visiting student to Japan where she kills her target. And the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. But the targets are both British! Certainly does sound like an exchange. What on earth is the point? Forget Naruto. That the British assassin at least escaped conviction. Thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our 2 countries. The fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. Highest levels? Ah, he is in on it! These murdered are 2 sides of the same coin, linked up by a common motive, by a contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular, devilish scheme. That dissociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. Wait a minute, Sholmes? This telegram really is describing an exchange of assassins, as you're suggesting. It mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all. Minasaki's target was actually Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? Jigoku wasn't the mark? Hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. You're the one who told him he was going to France. Transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But she can barely read English. Engaged in one lost assignment without informing you. Gregson. It's too much to take in. Yeah, my brain is gonna blow up. Alright everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Quite right, Iris. Let's conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It's a little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. Hello, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? Somebody like me would be worthy. I'd be delighted to become your sister. Yay! No! 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 We'd have to get married first. Well done, Iris. Supposed to be mindful of feelings. I praised you so well. Damn it, Sholmes. Being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Holy guacamole! What are you preparing for tomorrow? More evidence? Is it forensic science? Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a stellar performance. I'll do my very best, of course. Alright, there's our info dump. Overnight break became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths while posing new conundrums. Yeah, it was just some casual conversation with Sholmes. Friendship. Family.